Well, welcome back, everyone. Again, my name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm also chairman of the board and founder of Mage LLC, management consulting firm in Boston since 1985. And, I get excited, juiced every week when that face comes on my screen. That means it must be the Marc Z moment. Welcome, Marc Z from Marc Z Legal Staffing. Hi, Marc.
Jeff, great to be here. Great to see you. I missed you when you had John, although John's great. There's only one Jeffrey Davis.
I would beg to differ. John Friedman, we're definitely bookends who work well together, and I appreciate the compliment. But Marc, I know you've been really focusing on this whole concept of back to work and what it means for employers. And what it does, it affects so many things: culture, the work environment, recruiting, everything. So let's get into it. What's up?
So, the interesting, if you talked about a month and a half ago to employers, they would say, we're still figuring it out. We're going to be flexible. We don't have our plan yet. Hopefully we'll know more in the fall. It could be to next year. And then as soon as the regulations were lifted, Biden made the announcement in terms of shots in arms. And the restrictions were now officially lifted, or going to be lifted in the state. Things have now changed. Employers are now saying, let's start back to work now. And so what a lot of employers are doing, they're saying, you know what, these are the firms and law firms or companies that have had people working remotely. There's some firms like personal injury firms or residential real estate firms that really, after the initial stay in place, had people working full-time, socially distanced. So a lot of the small firms have had that. But now the firms that have had the traditional workforce in other disciplines, the major firms, the major professional services, corporations, universities, organizations of all kind, it's now, you know what, we like people to come back to work at least 1 to 2 days a week, starting in July 1st. Then they're looking at, you know what, we'd like to strongly encourage people to come back to work 2 days a week in August. And then by September, 3 days a week. And then we'll see between now and the end of the year what we're going to do. So that's the one thing. They're still not saying mandatory comeback, but what they're saying, we strongly encourage. Now, the con on that, a lot of people are saying out in the workforce, well, that's giving mixed signals. If you strongly encourage, it's AKA mandatory. But a lot of employers are sort of trying to do a balancing act because they're watching the legalities involved, because it's a minefield in terms of mandatory and strongly encourage, as well as people that have religious and health objections. So that's one thing employers are dealing with. The other thing is that's starting to percolate under the reservoir is the case of attorneys or professionals that say, I don't want to come back. I want to continue to work totally remote. And organizations, companies, and law firms are saying, look, if they can produce and they can do this work for right now, we're more than fine for them to work remotely. But in terms of staff, employers don't have that same tact. In fact, we've had situations where originally employers say, look, as long as they could do 1 or 2 days a week, we're fine. We found a really good candidate. And then the employers they fast track the candidate. And all of a sudden the employer said to us, well, what can she really commit to? And the candidate said, I could commit to 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week outside, because she lived outside of the state. And now they're saying, you know what, let's put a hold on it for now, and let's see who else is available. So employers are really encouraging non-attorneys to come back.
Well, I think that's interesting. I was just listening to stories this morning, and I have been talking to clients. I have one client that's requiring everybody, you're right, a process to get back into the office by October 1st. And so they're working a process till October, but they are doing exceptions to the rule. So they are speaking to employees who really seem to have become more productive outside of being in the office. And I think that's something employers need to look at. Who really did benefit by being more productive through COVID? Because why would you want to bring them back to the office if they're doing better?
Right, right. It's a balancing act. A lot does get lost by not being in the office, depending on what type of business you have. I mean, you've been able to, you're like a magician. You've been able to, I know your business is on fire and you have your whole team working remote. In my business, it can only help to a certain point. I mean, we were able to get everybody properly working remote. But at the same time, it's not the same. A lot does get lost. And that's something we're strongly encouraging. And we're going to look, and as far as our company, look for a remote in-office hybrid model.
Right.
Which we can achieve everything.
I've been back to meetings. Some clients have said it's much better. And I've noticed the difference when you do get into some face-to-face meetings. Mark, I think it's a big topic. If someone's looking for you for their Mark Z moment, how would they find you?
First of all, Google Marc Z, M-A-R-C and the letter Z, and we come up right away. Go to our website, marczlegal.com, marczlegal.com, and 617-338-13.
Thank you, Mark. I look forward to speaking to you. And again, remind our listeners, Marc Z will be on Radio Entrepreneurs every week. You can find him. And these moments of how to deal with personnel, culture, organizational development. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Jeff.